and welcome to The Backbone, the podcast where common sense still makes sense in a world that is sick and only getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And if you are paying attention at all to this P. Diddy Sean Combs trial, it may be a lot sicker and a lot more depraved than anybody could have imagined. This today was day 3 upon the recording of this podcast. And I haven't heard the details of day 3, but from the details that I've heard of day 1 and day 2, how anyone could have spent money on this P. Diddy guy, buying his records or going to his shows or his clothes. I mean, you must be sick to your stomach. This dude is out of his goddamn bejesus mind. The stories that this woman, what's her name? Cassie Ventura, right? Is that her name? Cassie Ventura? Something Ventura. Doesn't really matter. She took the stand yesterday, and this article is from the New York Post for informational purposes only. And she took the stand yesterday, confirming what we've been hearing over the last 2 days. Supposedly now, allegedly, let's say, she was part of these things called freak-offs. They're basically orgies where she was subject to group sex. She was urinated on. She had urine shot in her mouth. She was having sex with 3, 4, 5 different men at a time for 3 or 4 days at a time, to the point where she said she was exhausted. I mean, how can you blame a girl? And supposedly, this Sean Combs, this P. Diddy guy, was sitting in a corner, playing with his pencil and basically enjoying it. Now, I've told you before, this whole hip hop culture thing, to me, is a massive gay cabal. All these guys have proven that this whole gangster stuff is all nonsense. None of these guys are gangsters. They're homos. They're homosexuals. And the way that she describes this is just sickening. And it just, you want to take your children and lock them in a closet forever, because these are the people that are front and center in our culture. Now, of course, there was a video that came out, I think, a year ago, and the New York Times, the New York Post has it in this article here, of Sean Combs, of this woman Cassie Ventura trying to escape Sean Combs in a hotel, and he comes from behind and he pulls her down and he kicks her and he drags her back, or tries to drag her back to the hotel room, and she calls security and he's in a bath towel. And if I remember correctly, he paid the hotel, I think it was $50,000, to keep that footage under wraps. Now, if he did that, the hotel, whoever was in charge of security in that hotel and of surveillance of that hotel, they should be arrested. There's no way that they're not partly responsible for this. They suppressed evidence, and maybe the state must have gotten involved, and they folded because they gave this whole thing up. But this is just wild stuff that is happening. The group sex, the 1,000 bottles of baby oil, the cucking. And Sean Combs, this is, we had the OJ trial. This is the trial that should be called the madness of a cuck. He loves to watch other men have sex with women, with his girlfriends. Now, his lover or his baby mama a few years ago was going to come out with a tell-all book, and she mysteriously died. There is no way that this woman just happened to die out of nowhere. And this book, I think this book is coming out, or maybe it's in publication. We don't know. But supposedly she was going to let out the whole. Um, she was going to spill the beans on this whole thing. But the question that I have is, what lengths will people go to get famous? This woman, Casey Ventura, wanted to be a singer, so she visited this guy's apartment for these orgies, and she sold her soul. She gave up her virtue. She gave up her morals. And listen, I don't want to hear that women are strong and women are determined. No, they're not. No, they're not. This has been going on for years. You've heard the term the casting couch. I was in the entertainment industry on a much lower level. Let me tell you something. What women will do to get in front of that camera, what they will do behind that camera to get in front of that camera, you would be appalled. And it could be your neighbor, it could be your sister, it could be, God forbid, your daughter. But they're out there, and they're still out there. The danger is now is the laws have swayed so much in the favor of women that all they have to do is just cry a little tear, scream that four-letter word that starts with an R and ends with an E, and they're going to make money. But people will go to extraordinary lengths for fame. And people who have the power to make that fame happen, they submit to something even more evil than vanity, and that is lust. Lust will destroy a man and tear him to pieces to the point where he may never be able to recover. But fame and vanity are one of the most deadly sins out there, and lust is there too. And these women, and there's probably a whole truckload who have gone through the casting couch, the orgy room, the orgy lounge, uh, sleeping with various guys, sleeping with various women, doing other depraved things. I'm telling you that the minute someone testifies that children are involved in this, I don't think we'll see Sean Combs again. Because if right now the question is any of this illegal? She was a grown adult. I guess she did this willingly. I mean, she was there for 3 days. She's not saying that she was a prisoner. They didn't lock her up. They didn't kidnap her. She knowingly knew this guy. She knowingly did all this stuff. I mean, the minute somebody says to you, "Hey, listen, I'm going to get 3 or 4 guys to have sex with you, and they're going to pee on you and shit on you and just basically treat you like garbage," you have 2 options. You can stay and lose your soul, or you can leave and be a waitress the rest of your life. You know what? Being a waitress ain't so bad. At least you have your character. This girl here, Casey Ventura, she now has to live with this testimony like an albatross around her back, on her shoulders, for the rest of her life. What is she's married. I think she's married. Her husband had to leave the courtroom yesterday after hearing a lot of this stuff. What are her children, if she has any, or future children, supposed to think about this? About what their mother did? About what their mother accepted? These women, these girls, when they're young, have no concept of family. And I'm telling you, I don't believe that this woman she probably, dollars a donut, she didn't have a dad in the house. And she tried to get the easy way to fame. And she went to any length to do it. Now, I don't know this woman from Adam. If you've ever heard of her music, list a song in there. I'm curious to find out how she sounds. But She went through all this for nothing. And I don't think there's anything particular. I'm not a lawyer, but I don't know if there's anything illegal about what the Combs put her through. What I think what the prosecution's trying to do is they're trying to make this guy out to be a heathen, and they're trying to build this case so the jury hates him. But again, you can hate somebody, doesn't mean they're doing anything illegal. But I think if this trial goes on for another 6 to 8 weeks, that there's going to be a whole host of other things to come out. And I'm telling you now, I'm going to call this right now. If it comes down to the point where he has to give up names, where his defense team says, listen, man, you're looking at this amount of time in prison and we can't do anything for you unless we make a deal. If he's going to give up names, he's going to get the same treatment old Jeffrey got. There is no way in hell that the powers that be are going to allow this dude to talk. No way. Because right now, I mean, everything that I'm reading, and I'm reading from multiple sources because the courtroom is not allowed. The judge is not allowing cameras in the courtroom, which is a disservice to the world. But which would have been a media frenzy if that was the case. You would have had people staying home from work to watch this. It would have been just like the OJ trial. But from what I'm reading, yeah, it's perverted. Yeah, it's depraved. Yeah, it's crude. Yes, it's awful Sodom and Gomorrah shit. But it's amongst adults. And from what I'm seeing, from what I'm reading, this girl was a willing participant in it, and she was an adult. So where's the legal ramifications here? Unless the prosecution has something much more horrible. And I don't even want to think about it. I don't even want to comment on it. But if what I think might be coming out later on does come out, then there has to be names. Then the names have to come out. And when there's smoke, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I'm telling you that the people who were involved in these freak offs were probably the same people that were involved with Mr. Epstein, and they're probably shaking in their boots. A lot of people are shitting a brick right now because this is getting ugly. And a lot of this stuff is starting to swirl around people who don't want this, who have supposedly squeaky clean images. No one now in Hollywood has a squeaky clean image. No one in the music industry does. No one in television does. No one in movies does. This is an absolute disaster. And all it's going to take is for one person to have some sort of hard evidence, a picture, a video, something of an underage person involved in these things, and then it's over. I cannot see the American public condoning this. But then again, we're a society that's almost lost. I mean, I always say this is a world. It's a world that's sick and getting sicker. I may be downplaying it. I may not know what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I don't know how sick this is. Because from what we're hearing in this trial, what we're hearing in this trial. Let's read some of the stuff here. This was these are pictures of the hotel room where Sean Combs threw a vase at her, smashing it into pieces. She wore sunglasses because she had a black eye. According to the New York Post, she arrived at her nearby apartment where her friend was super upset because she'd quote, seen me with black eyes and bruised lips before, Ventura testified. Ventura's friend called the police, but Ventura declined to tell them who attacked her because she saw this guy, Sean Combs, as her meal ticket. According to her testimony, in that moment, I didn't want to hurt him that way. I wasn't ready. She didn't care about him. She cared about herself. If she rats him out, now he's an enemy. He's not gonna. You're not gonna make a record with. He's not gonna have you in his studio making records, honey. In the wake of the attack, Combs claimed to Ventura that he was about to be arrested by police. Combs told her if she didn't pick up the phone, she would never hear my voice again. After she refused to accept his phone calls, Ventura told the court. The hotel security guard testified earlier that when he arrived upstairs after the attack, he saw the damage and told Combs he would have to pay for it. That's all they care about with these hotels. They don't care about the person getting hurt, black eyes, busted up lips. No. You're paying for the vase. Jurors saw the photos of Combs and a bruised Ventura at the premiere of her movie, The Perfect Match, which was 2 days after the March 2016 attack. Ventura had worn dark glasses to shield her black eyes and tried to cover up the bruises with makeup, but was unable to mask all of them. This is absolutely madness. This is just crazy stuff here. And we have live updates, of course. The New York Post is there. This is her. Get this thing out of here. Jesus Christ, with these ads. Again, according to the New York Post, Casey Ventura had been grilled by her ex-boyfriend Sean Combs' lawyer in his federal sex trafficking trial in Manhattan on Thursday. The defense is like, Thursday today. You won't see this podcast until probably tomorrow. The defense is likely to spend several hours, if not days, trying to catch the pregnant R&B singer in lies. They attacked her character and poked holes in her story. Combs, 55, has pleaded not guilty to 1 count of racketeering conspiracy, 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and 2 counts of transportation and engaging in prostitution. He faces a lifetime in prison if convicted. Now, Ventura, let's see if there's anything she says here. It doesn't seem taking planning. Okay. All right. So there are messages between Casey Ventura and Sean Diddy Combs appeared to show that the R&B singer taking the lead in planning the freak off at the hotel where the fallen music mogul infamously beat her up. You're suggesting you're doing a freak off at the hotel? Combs' lawyer asked Ventura. I didn't say it here, Ventura explained before saying yes. So she was involved in this. She was okay with this. I mean, how do you justify this girl? She's a terrible witness. This is all arranged for the freak off that's about to happen in the Intercontinental, and we've all seen the effects of it, Estavo said, who's, I guess, is her lawyer, Combs' lawyer. Yep, Ventura responded. The Bad Boy record founder was captured was captured on a disturbing video footage, kicking and dragging Ventura at the Intercontinental at Central City in Central City, Los Angeles, on March 4th, 2016. So in her testimony, she basically admits that she planned these things, or she helped plan these things. She was in on it. It wasn't like he forced her. And she was a willing participant. Now, is Sean Combs going to go to jail for this particular thing? No, probably not. It's the other things. It's the human trafficking. It's the extortion. It's the racketeering. It's all this other stuff. Now, if you're a mobster, you're thinking, well, if he has extortion, coercion, trafficking, why isn't he up on a RICO case? Because then he's finished. The RICO cases, it's usually 95% you're going to jail forever. Now, I don't know. I didn't read the article in full from this particular article, but I don't think this is a RICO trial. But this goes to show you, of all these women who go on TV or in movies or radio and they say we work hard and we're strong women and we're independent. No, they're not. The strong woman myth is just that. It's a sick, silly, stupid little myth. And women need to look in the mirror. All these boss bitches need to look in the mirror and say, is all this fame and fortune, the attempt at fame and fortune, worth it? Because this girl here, I'm telling you, if my kids ever told me that they were going to buy a record from her, I hit them over the head with a brick. You have to be insane to partake, to put your money in this girl's pocket. Now, can this story get any worse? Oh yeah, and I think it will. There's no way that this is the only case built against Combs. I think this is the hors d'oeuvre. As vile as that sounds, I think this is just the hors d'oeuvre. I think what's going to happen is we're going to start seeing some human trafficking, and unfortunately, I think we're going to see some underage individuals in this. But as we said, I don't want to turn this podcast into the Combs trial podcast, but we're going to follow this as much as we can and see where this leads, because this is absolute, utter madness. And it's sickening, it's disturbing. And something has to be done. But how does that involve us? How does that involve our way of thinking? Well, looking at it in the Sean Combs perspective, he fell for something called lust, and lust is a disease. And we must recognize the dread of lust. It's a damaging and destructive sin that ruins the virtue of good but damaged and lost men. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the transient nature of human desires and the importance of mastering them. Lust is one of the strongest and most primal desires, is a distraction that clouds the mind and retards your judgment. Lust pulls the mind away from the higher purpose, and the Stoics understood that by overcoming such impulses. And it's required a deeper understanding of the impermanence and a disciplined approach to life. Through Stoic practices, lust, as Marcus Aurelius described in his Meditations, is, and I quote, a fleeting impulse that arises from a false perception of what is valuable. So to Sean Puffy Combs, or P. Diddy Combs, his lust was being able to control people and watch people do things that are absolutely disgusting. Lust often emerges due to external stimuli and is rooted in the mistaken belief that satisfaction will be a lasting commitment. Desires, including lust, are momentary and lose their intensity over time. And that's why when you do something crazy in the beginning, you have to up the madness. You have to one up the last one. So first, maybe it's just having sex with one woman, then maybe two, then three, then group sex, then orgy, then maybe it gets into freaky or gay stuff. Now it's up to this. Where does it end? It never ends, because you're always trying to up the madness. What feels overwhelmingly urgent in one moment may seem insignificant in the next. And that's what we just said. It gets worse and worse and worse, because you're climbing the totem pole of lewdness. Lust as a desire is driven by physical attraction is often mistaken for something essential, but our true nature as rational beings is not tied to physical indulgence. Our true nature is linked to reason and to virtue. Now, Marcus Aurelius wrote, and I quote, "When you've eaten and are full, you look at a roasted animal or stuffed fish as a corpse. You're content after that, right? You're not hungry anymore. So you don't need to overstuff yourself with more more food. It's just gluttonous. And that's what Sean Combs has. He's gluttonous. The same applies to lust. When the desire passes, you see that it was only a fleeting thought that gripped you. By understanding this, we can weaken the desire's hold over us. One of the key lessons in Stoicism, according to Marcus Aurelius, is to recognize the impermanence of desire. It's just like buyer's remorse. Do you really need to buy that watch? Probably not, but you do anyway. What do you get? You get that guilty feeling. We call it buyer's remorse, but that's what it is. Yeah, we buy crap we don't need. Here, Sean Combs didn't need to do any of this stuff. He was just gluttonous. He was gluttonous on lust. And when we acknowledge that desires, particularly lust, are temporary, we gain the ability to detach from them. And lust often feels urgent and compelling. Like it's almost like a drug. You have to have it. But it's helpful to step back and see what lust truly is. It's a fleeting impulse that will soon pass. Now, it's easier said than done, of course, because just like a drug addict or an alcoholic or a gambler, you have to have that fix. This is the same thing. By diminishing its power, we view things objectively instead of seeing lust through the lens of desire. We should strip away the illusion and observe things as they are. When tempted by physical beauty, we can remind ourselves that it's simply skin, flesh, and bones and nothing more. The practice of seeing things clearly diminishes the allure of desire. Remaining focused requires an understanding that indulging in lust distracts us from our purpose. This is what happens to good men all the time. They get fixated on this hot chick, and instead of keeping up with their purpose, whether it's uh, advancing in school or building a business or trying to have a side hustle, they scrap all of that for that little triangle in their panties, because most men are not in love with women. Most men are in lust with women. We think with the little head, not with the big head. Lust pulls us away from our responsibilities and our pursuit of virtue. We must remain focused on what truly matters, and that constantly keeps us evolving. It keeps us in a life of wisdom, integrity, and purpose. We must constantly remind ourselves that fleeting pleasures do not lead to lasting satisfaction. Lust is a Lust is like crack. It doesn't last very long. The high goes away after a while. So instead of smoking crack once a day, a crack addict will smoke it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day. This is how addictions begin. And you could be addicted to lust just as easy. Lust promises the low value man immediate gratification, but in most cases, it can lead to horrible, dangerous decisions and possible addictions. Lust doesn't align with the Stoic goal of living a life of reason and purpose. Awareness of our thoughts and impulses is essential in maintaining control rather than acting on desires. We have to pause and reflect. This gives our rational mind time to evaluate situations, all situations. Sometimes you hear about these guys that work in these schools, and they see a girl who is a student or whatever, and they make one wrong choice. And I'm not condoning what they're doing. I'm not saying that they should know better. If you're a high value man, you know better. But a lot of these men are weak, and they're driven by lust, and lust is from Satan. Lust is from the devil. It carries hell within you. So you have to pause, reflect, and this gives the rational mind time to evaluate. What's this going to lead me to? How am I going to be affected by this? Is this going to advance me in any way? And of course, the answer to all that is stay away, no, run. Because when you pursue lust, you are doomed for failure. This practice of mindfulness helps us avoid impulsive reactions, giving us the space to choose virtuous actions. When we reflecting, right? What do we do when we reflect? We journal, maybe we do a little meditation, even deep breaths. This helps us regain control over our emotions. You know, when they tell you to sit back and count to 10, anytime you feel like hitting somebody or, going after that girl that you know, you don't know if she's right around 21 or not. Sit back, count to 10, and trust me, your life will you'll thank yourself later. This redirecting our attention when tempted encourages us to channel the energy of lust into a more productive and meaningful pursuits. Instead of going after that girl, put your energy into your side business, your schooling, your creating, your development, your purpose. And when you put all those meaningful, productive energies towards that, you have evolved. By focusing our efforts on intellectual, creative, and physical pursuits, not sex. Physical pursuits mean jogging, lifting weights, keeping your body in shape. When we focus on those, when we put those efforts in those pursuits that line up with our values, we build self-mastery and direct our energy in ways that reinforce our growth and our well-being. You'll never get hurt by following that plan. True contentment doesn't come from indulging in cheap, crude pleasures, but from virtues such as wisdom and courage. Lust, by its nature, undermines moderation. Therefore, to remain focused and resist lust, we must practice productive habits in all areas of our lives. Read more, write more. If you're into drawing or playing music, do practice more. If you're into going to the gym, lifting weights, jogging, run more, lift more, concentrate on your diet more. Marcus Aurelius urges us to strengthen our minds and bodies through the stoic exercise of a negative visualization. Now, this sounds negative, but it works. This prepares us to resist temptations all the time. When you see that girl and you think of all the bad things that could happen, that she could have happened to you, you will not see her as that hot chick anymore. When you think negative about whether to pick up that vape, snort that bump, take 2 or 3 more drinks when you're not supposed to. When you take a when you negatively visualize what could happen to you, you will not do it. Your mind will force your body not to do it. These acts of self-restraint build the inner strength necessary to overcome greater challenges and living in accordance with nature. Now, to kill lust and stay focused, we must regularly remind ourselves of its impermanence. It's not here forever. It's a fix. We should redirect our attention to more meaningful pursuits. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the ancient world, beautifully states, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Don't let outside events, like women, like sex, like drinking, like drugs, like doing stupid things to impress your friends, don't let these things ruin your life. By recognize the fleeting nature of your desires or of our desires, we can free ourselves of the grip of lust. We can grow an inner peace, staying focused on what truly matters in our lives, and what truly matters in our lives, our development, our creating, and our purpose, which ultimately leads to our evolution. And that's the memo. All right, I know I talked a lot tonight, but this thing really inspired me today. And growing up in New York, I could tell you that there were things that I saw, and being in the having the career that I had, I saw a lot of things that I definitely don't want my kids or your kids or any young people to see, because it is a sick, sick, sick world, especially up there. It's Sodom and Gomorrah. But we will save more, hopefully, for tomorrow. So again, as I always say, thank you again for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. And gentlemen, be careful. Be careful. Satan is always busy, and he is working overtime, and he is coming up with some crazy shit. Be a man. Have a backbone, because masculinity and common sense are worth standing up for. We will continue with this Combs trial and see where it leads us. We'll see you later.